Okay, we're live. How's it going, everybody? We're joined today by Natalie. Benson fuck! I practiced it. I still fucked up.
That's
Benson
okay.
Vega.
Done. Perfect. Perfect.
We'll pretend I didn't fuck it up the first time. But how you doing today, Natalie?
I'm doing really well. It's so nice to be with both of you. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, John, how you doing?
I'm doing good. It's great to see Natalie again. It's always a good show when Natalie's here. So
Yeah,
I'm excited to talk today.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, I don't care what John says about you. We like you here. And we actually at the end of yesterday's show, we do Wednesday shows for like an hour, just like me and John just bullshitting really, and then we do a real show on Thursday or 2 hour show. And at the end of the show, we mentioned that you'd be on, and I was talking about the last time you were here. Because I think that was maybe it was the time before. I don't know. Maybe the first time that I saw you on the show, I saw you and I was like, oh, I expected you to be like, not quite as progressive as we are. And I was trying to figure out how I said it to you. You said, well, why'd you think that? And I said that you look like you had your shit together. Like you look like an actual like grown up. And it's like, oh yeah, this is a responsible person. She's probably not dove into leftism. And I was very happy to find out you were. That was fantastic.
I'm breaking the mold. And actually, you made a comment about my haircut.
Oh, was it? Okay.
It was the haircut. I think because it kind of looks a little professional or something.
Oh, maybe. Okay. Yeah. I don't remember that, but that would
no, but it just made me laugh because I do think this is why you can't judge book by its cover. And I like this one quote from Callista Flockhart. She said it a long time ago. The way the world underestimates me will be my greatest weapon. And I think it's important to always never assume you know someone until you really get to know them. So I was just pleasantly surprised to spend time, but it wasn't fair, TJ, from your perspective, because I had already learned a lot about both of you, and I knew what I was coming into. You didn't know what you were getting, so it's all good. But I'm happy to be back.
That's all good. That's all good. One of my favorite quotes is the last capitalist to hang will be the one who sells us the rope. That one always makes me laugh because that's that's a cold line, right? I can't remember who it attributes. Yeah, it's cold. I love it. Oof. But John, you got a favorite quote?
A favorite quote ever? I don't know. Right now, I'm really big on the let's not let the past burden. Whatever Kamala's quote is. I realize what's the exact thing she says.
She said it like every speech,
every single speech. And now that you asked me, it's not coming.
It's gone out of your head. I know it's okay.
But when I originally heard it, I was like, "Is she high?" And then I did think about it, and I actually do like it. What is the actual quote? Be unburdened by what has been. But essentially what she's saying,
be unburdened by I don't know, what can be unburdened by what has been, I don't know,
but essentially what she's saying is because something I say a lot is don't let what is define what should be.
That's right.
And that famous quote of hers is essentially saying the same thing, and I think I've been seeing a lot about that. I don't know, you put me on the spot, TJ, come on.
I'm sorry.
That kind of night.
So before we get into this, this is just something. This has nothing to do with the show, but it's just something that happened right before I hopped on here. I realized I was really thirsty and I didn't have any water, and so I was like, "Oh man, the show starts in like 2 minutes." So I just grabbed an empty bottle I had and filled it with tap water. And then I remember watching this TikTok a while ago, and the guy in the TikTok said, "Oh, so you say you're not bougie, huh? Take this glass of tap water. Go ahead." Drink it. Drink the tap water. And I was like, oh my God, it's disgusting. I can't stand it. And the funny thing is I grew up in the days before bottled water was just everywhere, ubiquitous. We made fun of people that drank tap water when I was, drank bottled water when I was a kid. But now it's all over the place. And my girlfriend that I had, my previous girlfriend, she got me to drinking bottled water because to me, I couldn't tell the difference. But now, after years and years of doing it, tap water is vile. I don't know how I drank it for my entire life. So if you see me taking a swig of the water, just kind of going like that, it's because it's tap water.
Oh man!
As long as it's ice cold, I don't care. I drink filtered tap water, but that's what I drink, and it's fine. It's fine. As long as
of course he does, folks. Of course he does.
I think we should call this segment of tonight's show "First World Problems."
Yeah, I know, right? I know. It's like we've officially run out of problems while we're bitching out the water. But you know who is having some problems right now? Joseph Robinette Biden. That's what we're going to talk about right now for the first part of the show here.
Yes.
So at the end of near the end of yesterday's show, we were putting together topics, Natalie. We went through some stuff and everything, and then John texted me later that night, and he was reading the same stuff I did. It's like, man, I've just been watching the news. We got to add this topic about Joe Biden. And we absolutely have to, because when John and I spoke about this last, Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi, I think they had a meeting with top Democrats talking about, hey, what are we going to do about this Joe Biden thing? But as of last night, there even more came out, or last night and today, just keeps popping up more and more. The big guy himself, Barack Hussein Obama, he has told his allies that Joe Biden needs to seriously consider his viability for re-election. And when I saw this, John, my first thought was, well, how come he's not asking Trump to reconsider his viability? We joked about that a lot, Natalie, because we were saying that, hey, you know, Biden's he's looking kind of rickety. Maybe he should step down. And a lot of people would say, why aren't you asking Trump to step down? As if, as if we have anything to do with that at all. But this is the article from the Washington Post, so you know it's true. Former President Barack Obama told his allies in recent days that President Biden's path to victory has greatly diminished, and he thinks the president needs to seriously consider the viability of his candidacy, according to multiple people briefed on his thinking. I'll toss it to Natalie first. What do you think here? Is this good news for Biden or not? I'm not sure. I'm new to this whole politics thing.
I think it is long past due that President Biden steps aside. I have been saying this now for weeks on social media and on my platforms. We need a viable candidate that can beat Donald Trump, which I can't even believe we're saying that, because honestly, like, the house plant behind me should be enough to beat Donald Trump, considering all of the chaos and mayhem and really suffering that he has caused since he was last in office. But people have short memories and they want to believe what they want to believe. Facts be damned. So I think the reality is, between the way Biden appeared at the debate, which was what made me go, okay, I can no longer support this candidate. He is no longer viable in my eyes, to his ongoing support for Israel in the midst of everything that has happened in Gaza. I don't think it makes any sense for us to continue to throw our weight behind President Biden. I think if he wants to be a true patriot, like he always says that he is, it is time to pass the torch, step aside, and truly just like save us from ourselves at this point.
Wow. Couldn't agree more, Natalie. Yesterday we had a commenter ask, if I was still 60-40, because that's what I said last week, that 60% he would step down, 40% he wouldn't. I've jumped that up to 85% in the past 24 hours. We have had now, basically in the past 24 hours, it has come out that he said that he would step down if he had a medical condition. Pelosi leaked that she asked him to step down, essentially. Schumer leaked that he asked him to step down. Obama is now leaking that he should consider stepping down, which is about as much of a warning shot, as you can possibly imagine. And he announced that he has COVID. Like it's all seemingly going towards the direction that he's going to step down. And really, I would say higher than 85%, but it's just, there's so much uncertainty about a situation like this that 15% is just uncertain. Like there's like 1% in no, he won't step down. It seems like that's the direction things are going. Trump is already acting like he's going against Kamala Harris. I don't know if you guys saw at the RNC, he walked out to It's a Man's World, which was obviously a shot at Kamala Harris, while also, classically not understanding what the song is about. And I think that it's about as unspoken, as public of a secret as you can possibly get right now that he'll be stepping down. And thank God, because we were about to drive off a cliff. And I honestly, I can't, 99.9% of the time, if you're like, hey, do you support Trump? I'd be like, no, you really shouldn't do that. But honestly, the clips that have been coming out of Biden, like I'm not a doctor, I don't know anything, but my grandma had Parkinson's, and it was scarily similar to what we've been seeing out of him in the past month. Just the way he's been moving, the way that he's been talking. I don't know that he has it or not, but I still think someone with Parkinson's would make a better president than Trump, because I think Trump is evil. But I don't blame the average person for having pause about that. You know, like you can't really like be too upset that it's like, oh, we're considering Trump because Biden clearly isn't capable. And as if the plan is for Harris to take over anyway, which it absolutely must be, you might as well let her campaign because she'll do a better job at it. You know, that's where I've been like you for a while. But I think it's pretty clear and obvious at this point what's going to happen.
TJ, was there any moment where you just thought, this is it, I'm now moving over to the other side of this debate? Like, was there a moment, like, was it George Clooney that did it for you? Like, what was it that made you go?
What made me? Oh, well, so the debate, honestly, is I think when most people turned, and like that was so. John and I and Nick Powers, we did a live stream of that debate, so we got to watch the nightmare unfold minute one to minute done, and it was a catastrophe. At that point, is like, it was hard. I'm still in the same position where. Yeah, I think Biden should go because I don't think he has what it takes to finish the campaign. I just don't. He's not going to get better over the next 3 or 4 months, and so he's only going to hurt himself. But I do understand when people said that. Well, it's kind of risky because we don't know. That's true, but I would think that anyone now coming in, like they get to in some way free themselves of a lot of the baggage that Biden has, but also just present a normal-ish person against Donald Trump, which what Biden cannot do right now. So I think the debate is when I first started getting these thoughts. Then over time, it's like as more kept going on, he said, when I nominated Vice President Trump, and everything, talk about Harris and all that. But what's really cemented it for me, so just like with John, is that Democrats kept like hinting that they didn't want Biden. Like the big guys like Pelosi and Schumer were hinting they didn't want him. And then George Clooney, of course, George Clooney, oh yeah, I mean, come on, like, how can we not follow Bruce Wayne? And but Obama hinting at it again. And what people got to understand is that they're hinting at this, but they're hitting it towards like newspaper publications and news sources, and they're not doing that accidentally. But I do want to add something here. I saw a tweet by Ilhan Omar today about this very thing. And I share her sentiment because I don't respect cowardice. This is what she said right here was, I can't tell you all how shameful it feels to hear all these leaks about what Democratic leaders are saying and not to have a single one of them out here confirming or denying it. It's a lack of leadership, and it's making all Democrats look bad. Whatever this mess leads to will not undo the damage that's already been inflicted. May God help us all. Agree 100%. 100%. If you're a Barack Obama or Nancy Pelosi or Chuck Schumer, Hakeem Jeffries, like anyone like who has like actual sway over the party, hiding behind sources say is bullshit. This is an important issue. You either think Biden needs to go or you don't. Stand behind your decision. So I agree with Ilhan Omar on that.
I'm actually going to take the other side of that, TJ.
Oh, yeah?
I think, again, if we are looking at this at face value and assuming that every individual is just kind of acting on what they think they should do, which we know doesn't happen in politics, then I agree with you. Like on an individual level, stand your ground. Be an adult who is responsible for their own actions. But on a strategic level, from the point of view of the party and trying to win this election, I'm not sure that would be the best approach. Because if you just go out and everyone, comes together, Obama, Pelosi, Schumer does that, you limit your options. Because essentially, at that point, what's even the argument for Biden being president still? At least like with what's going on right now, it's a slow buildup of pressure so that you can hit the eject button on the campaign without needing to hit the eject button on the presidency. And I think that's very important because I think that if you have Kamala suddenly have to be president and have to campaign for 4 months very vigorously, that's a very, very, very bad combination. And you want to avoid that at all costs. You want to avoid casting doubt that the party was intentionally covering things up and knew that he needed to step down. I think this gives plausible deniability. and gives you the most optionality moving forward. And so, like, you know, morally, I guess I stand with you, but strategically, I'm not so sure that that would be the right answer. What do you think, Natalie?
Yeah, you know, it's an interesting statement. I had not seen this yet. And so my first visceral reaction was, let's remember, politicians are not leaders, they're followers. And they're going to follow what the people are wanting, right? We've shown poll after poll is saying people do not want Biden. So now they're almost breadcrumbing this trail, testing the waters, breadcrumb, test the waters. Do people really want this? Do people really want this? Okay, because we want to win, right? I mean, at the end of the day, this is about retaining who's in power, and they want the Democratic establishment wants to stay the Democratic establishment. And Kamala Harris and Joe Biden are not that far apart in policy position.
No.
They may be very far apart in appearance and obviously the rhetoric and how they might appear to the public. But at the end of the day, swapping Kamala's positions, swapping Biden's positions for Kamala's is not this big stretch. So the Dems just want to stay where they're at. And I think leading the people and saying, okay, how does this feel? How does this feel? How does this feel? It's getting them prepared. It also provides Biden the opportunity to step aside on his own 2 feet and look like a hero. And I think if we're talking about this BS, and excuse me, around, you know, like a fragile masculinity, because that's what I'm seeing all over the place right now between the Trump and the Biden campaign, right? One near, you know, where's the little cover on his ear because he's a hero, and this guy, you know, he's appearing weak on stage because he has a summer cold. I mean, it's also fraught with misogyny. It's fascinating, and toxic masculinity. So I think what they're trying to do is set up a framework where Biden can still stand on his own 2 feet and say, I'm saving the country by stepping aside and giving you guys what you want. And to me, that's really what's at the heart of all of this.
Yeah. It is important to keep, you guys are right. It's important to keep in mind the pageantry and stagecraft that politics is. It's not just about, you know, you stating your opinion or even what you think is right. Unfortunately,
right?
It's not. It's like, it really isn't. It's about like, this is like the sad thing is that what Republicans have figured out and it works easier when you're a fascist, that they understand better than people on the left that what really matters is the power, or who has the power. That's what really matters. Like optimally it would be about morality. That's what you want it to be. But whenever, you know, people who, you know, want to kill you or want to, you know, limit your rights or just have, you know, hatred towards anyone different than them, if they're in power, then you're not going to have the ability to exercise your morality anyway. And so John and I spoke about this a while ago, Natalie, talking about, you know, people who may go rogue. And I don't think anyone should go rogue, obviously. I think that if you present a united front, it would be better. But yeah, you're right. You know, just stepping up, saying, this is what I think. Nonsense. You can't do that with something that's important. But Bernie and AOC came out very okay. I haven't heard your opinion on this, Natalie. So I'm curious, like, why you think they did that? Because John and I had differing opinions on this, I think. But I'm just fresh. What's yours?
I'm so glad you brought this up because I was going to ask you guys if you didn't ask me, because I didn't hear you talk about that, and I
was about to segue to this topic too.
Yes,
so I'm glad we're all of the same
all
mind.
Yes.
Well,
I was shocked. If there was one thing that did surprise me during this whole grand experiment, we'll call it, of an election cycle, I was shocked because more so from AOC than from Bernie. And I'm wondering if they weren't as connected necessarily as I thought at first, because I thought, okay, someone got to both of them. But I'm wondering, you know, AOC is at the very beginning of her career and still, and I think that she could go very far with her ambitions if she chose to. And maybe there was a little closed door conversation that said, yo, we've let you get away with a lot. You better step in line with this one at the time that she made that comment. And I wonder with Bernie, because he's at the other side, the end of his career, his legacy, I don't think we want to discount what is said to people when there are no cameras in the room and there's no one else around. And I wonder if there was a little bit of intimidation of get in line or we'll bury you kind of energy going on. Now it already feels like a very long time ago, because now they're all saying that Biden needs to go. And I would be surprised if AOC in particular got behind him on her own without any, let's say, gentle encouragement from the establishment.
So I said this previously, and I still believe it to be true. That Ilhan Omar tweet puts a little bit of wrench in the theory, but I mean, it's not just AOC and Bernie, it's the whole progressive caucus, it's the squad, it's everyone. And Bernie's always been kind of separate from the rest of them. Bernie's kind of his own entity who just agrees with them on most things. He doesn't really act in unison with them. But what I do think, strategically speaking, there's a strong case to be made that if this decision was already made with Pelosi and Schumer, and from what we're hearing now, I mean, Schumer had that conversation with him like 2 weeks ago, I believe. And so like it's coming out now publicly, he's leaking, hey, this is what it was about. I said this. And he's, not denying or not directly denying it now. It's a slow escalation, right? But if it's Bernie, if it's AOC, if it's Ilhan Omar taking the flag and leading the charge against Biden, the story becomes, the progressive side of the party is in revolt.
Exactly.
Whereas if it's coming from, the call is coming from inside the House, it's, the party wants Biden to step down. And I think that, progressives in the left have seen time and time again, we are scapegoats constantly for any time a liberal politician fails. And I think that the progressive caucus was like, we're going to just do our darndest to like put a smile on our face and say, we stand with Joe Biden because we're not getting blamed for this shit this time. And the only reason they would feel comfortable doing that is if they knew Pelosi and Schumer were on their side here and were leading the charge. I think that that's what happened. Now, Ilhan Omar tweeting that and kind of throwing shade, maybe she just personally got fed up. I don't know. She's definitely a little more mavericky against Biden, especially because of the whole Gaza situation. So maybe that's more of she wanted to stake her niche a little outside of that and more against Biden. I don't know, but it does seem to be a strategic decision to me. I would bet my life savings that AOC and Bernie want Biden to step down too.
Can I just add something? I don't completely agree. I hear everything that you're saying and I agree with most of it. But the only thing I would say is when the assassination attempt happened, everything suddenly went quiet around Biden stepping down. All of that kind of dropped. And then that was sort of when AOC said, no, we stand behind Biden, which is why I still think that they were told you need to get behind him, because I don't know if it was that strategic, like weeks and weeks ago, that the establishment wanted him gone. I feel as though this was a more recent development of Pelosi and Schumer really rallying now behind this, because they're really seeing what's going on. Because I think for a second there, I thought it was over and Biden was going to stay in after what happened with Trump. But I don't know. I mean, I think you raise a lot of really good points.
When this came up, when John and I talked about it a while back, I had the position that they were going to take this either way. They were going to state their support Biden either way. And my postulation is similar to what you guys said, except that I didn't factor in what the establishment said. I pretended they didn't exist, because the way I saw it, if they lose either way, if they come out against Biden, if they come out against Biden and Biden wins, it makes them seem even more like pariahs and separate from the Democratic Party. If they come out against Biden and Biden loses, like, oh, well, look what you guys did. You cost Biden the election. So I didn't see any way it could possibly benefit them. Yeah, it makes them look cool to us. Who the fuck cares? It doesn't matter. And so that was my guess. And with Ilhan Omar, so I don't know if she's actually like criticizing what they're saying. I mean, she might agree, but she's criticizing their courage, I think.
I mean, what she's saying there is that, hey, if you're going to say it, just say it.
Yeah.
Which it's not so. That means that she's disagreeing with the strategy. She's not disagreeing with the should Biden step down. She's saying, I'm disagreeing with the way we're going about this.
Yeah.
Means that she isn't in lockstep with the rest. Because if my theory of what's going on is correct, and that the reason that AOC and Bernie and the rest of the progressives are staying quiet is because of a handshake deal with Pelosi and Schumer and the base of the party and party leadership, it means that she's kind of saying, hey, I'm going along with this. I don't like how it's going. Now, my theory of how it's going could be wrong. If my theory of how it's going could be wrong, then a lot of other things are on the table. But I do think that I don't think AOC and Bernie are being intimidated, because who would they be intimidated by? Like, if Schumer and Pelosi are on their side, they're intimidated by Biden? Like, I don't think so. Biden's incredible.
But they're on their side now. I don't know if they were necessarily all on the same page.
Well,
I just think this is moving so fast.
Yeah, if the reporting is true that Schumer 2 weeks ago told Biden that, hey, maybe you should step down. I think, again, I may be giving too much credit to Democratic Party leadership.
That could be the thing.
But here's the thing. I am not one to do that. So
that's fair. That's fair.
I'm definitely biased against them. And I think that they already knew. I think that they already were like, hey, Biden might not be our best chance, but we're sticking with him. And then once the debate happened, that became an untenable position. And that as soon as that happened, I think the wheels started to go in motion. I don't think that you would have had 20 congressmen step forward up until this point without the blessing of party leadership. So to me, just the fact that so many congressmen have already come forward and said straight up he needs to step down is an indicator to me that party leadership was at least friendly to the position of trying to get Biden to step down, which is why I say that's makes sense to me, because we all know, like, if AOC had her way, and you even said like Kamala and Biden are pretty similar, which they are, but Kamala is a step to the left of Biden.
Oh yeah.
And so, like, from every logical standpoint, they should want Biden to step down. I think it must be a strategic decision then. And you would only feel very comfortable making that strategic decision if you knew, the bigger guns were fighting for you, and you didn't have to take this fight to the streets yourself. That's how I see it.
Okay.
I have one question, John, because my powers of comprehension are being like uncharacteristically poor right now. In what you were saying about who are you saying Ilhan Omar is criticizing?
I'm saying this is new information in my theory, and it puts a little bit of a wrench in it, and I'm trying to figure it out. But like, I think what she's I don't know. Like, it's very cryptic as to she's kind of criticizing everyone, and I think it might be a little bit of just like hey, I'm frustrated and I'm letting you guys know publicly. Like, I don't know. So it seems weird. It just seems like a weird thing to say if you were already. If you were already going along with this plan of, hey, progressives, be quiet about this or support Biden staunchly, which she seems to have done. Like, she hasn't called for Biden to step down. So like, why would she be criticizing the people who are going along with that strategy?
See, that's it. I don't think I think she's criticizing like Schumer and Pelosi and Obama because they haven't put their names to this.
That's how I was interpreting it.
Yeah, like there's because she's like
she's just going, we need to speed up this process, is essentially what she's saying here.
Well, she needs to say, she's calling them cowards. It's like,
but has she called for Biden to step down?
Well, but she hasn't leaked to any news sources. Hey, off the record, I'm saying this, and then it's like, well, sources say Ilhan Omar wants Biden out. And then she's criticizing like sources say Obama when Obama leaked that. I think it's just like a cowardice thing.
I think it's a weird, again, I haven't followed Ilhan Omar specifically in the saga, so maybe I'm missing something, but I feel like that's a weird thing to say if you haven't staked a claim. Like, if you're kind of just not participating, I think it's weird to say, hey, the way you guys are participating is kind of cowardly. Because, go ahead, Natalie.
I think we're also just reading a lot into something here, because in the sense that, like, people just tweet when they're annoyed. Yeah. And she could have just been like, okay, I'm just, and that was it. And then maybe an hour later, it's like, maybe I should have thought about that.
You know what? So, you know what's funny about this? Ironically, she's like, it's really cowardly that you guys aren't putting your names to these statements and not naming anybody. That's actually pretty cowardly. So,
that is. It's like, well, why
don't be subtweeting, these members of Congress here.
Meta conversation.
Yeah. Name some names. John, I wrote something down. You mentioned a while ago that how Ilhan Omar doesn't have. Well, she's a lot more outspoken. Like she rolls the dice a lot more, and she's takes more risks.
Mhm.
And how she's in a more tenuous situation. And it's true. I don't know if you remember Destructo Jugo Ate when he was on the show a while back. He's from Ilhan Omar's district, and he was telling me, yeah, she's not like super popular there, which really surprised me. And she won by like 1.5 points when she ran last time. I thought she was way more popular than that, but yeah, that was I just want to point out that right there. Another note. Someone said something about Donald Trump not understanding, what songs mean and everything. My favorite example of that was when he played "Fortunate Son" at one of his rallies or something. It's like that song was written about you, Don. What's going on here?
It's at least "Fortunate Son" and like the other big one is "Born in the USA."
Born in the USA
is like they don't sound like they sound patriotic.
They do, yeah.
It's a man's world, very clearly. Like he's not pro-man. it's a very weird one to
misinterpret. There's no critical thinking here, guys. This is just a man's world. That's a good song. Let's use that. Like that's all. You guys are way too
We're giving him too much credit.
Well, James Brown is cool, and so yeah, of course I'm gonna play "It's a Man's World." We do every now. I feel like once a month, we on this show we talk about how conservatives have no fucking media literacy whatsoever.
None.
It's just
DJ. It's the next line in the song. It's a man's world.
They didn't get past that line. They just wanted to hear the first line. They just wanted to hear the first line.
In the verses, it's right there in the refrain. It's the next
line. It's so obnoxious.
It's the Republican Party's motto. I only hear what I want to hear.
That's fair. That's fair.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how they enjoy any art or any media at all when you just don't understand subtext. Yeah, it's fucking obnoxious. All right. Oh, almost perfect timing on that one. So we wanted to go into the Supreme Court for our second topic right here. Natalie requested this one herself, and
I'm already regretting it.
No, John, what did you say yesterday when I sent you that?
We have been trying to talk about the Supreme Court for like 2 months now. Like every single show, we're like, oh, we'll do this story about the Supreme Court. And then we end up like talking about other things and running out of time. So I'm glad that you kind of said, this is what I want to talk about. And we're like, yeah, let's finally do it. Let's talk about this damn monkey court. Because
it's insanity.
It has been insane. TJ, did you have like a formal thing that you wanted to say to introduce the topic?
No, but I was thinking, I mean, where do you start? But I was thinking about
it's a good introduction.
Yeah, I know, right? So what I was thinking is we have this election coming up. And the Supreme Court has shown that I think the article I sent was about them granting the president, granting Trump immunity under certain situations or under official acts, which is a little bit redundant as far as I was concerned, because the president has always had leeway to commit crime under official acts. That's kind of, like assumed immunity when they put it on paper. But I mean, they just did it for Trump's acts they want to deem official. But I'm not the first person thinking about this, but when this election happens, the Republicans are going to be ready with fraud lawsuits. If they lose, like, oh, I'm sure. And if those make it to the Supreme Court, they could easily steal this election. Easily. Now, who's going to stop them? And there's nothing we can do about that. Like nothing at all. It is just like we have essentially 6 kings ruling this country right now, or 5 kings and a queen. I didn't notice this until I
Women
saw
can be fascists too, everybody.
More female prison guards.
Yes.
But I saw a picture of the Supreme Court, and I didn't notice that the only 3 liberals are all women. I didn't notice that until like yesterday. I was like, oh my God, I didn't catch that. But yeah, Natalie, we brought you on for your oppositional takes. Let's hear how you defend the Supreme Court. Like, how do you want to hear your best takes for Judge Kavanaugh?
Oh man, not happening. Not today, my friend. No, the reason I wanted to talk to you guys about this, and I'll say this first, I'm not a legal expert. I find actually a lot of this very complicated and a little confusing. On my radio show, I have a constitutional law professor. His name's Jerry Dickinson. He comes on all the time with me, and we do a segment called Back to Basics, where he literally breaks down what all of these rulings actually mean in a way that's digestible for us normal people, right? But the reason I wanted to talk about this was honestly a little bit more philosophical, in the sense that what concerns me about what I'm seeing is that we are so distracted by the Trump and Biden show, and I think that is with total intention, that we are ignoring the fact that literally they just criminalized homelessness, right? I mean, they're doing things, they're gutting the EPA. They're creating a situation where the next president really could become very easily a dictator with not much that they would have to do. And so for me, when I wanted to talk about this, it was just more like to say, hey, we need to wake up here. Like, this isn't about Biden and Trump. This is really an existential issue around who this nation wants to become, because the damage has been done. You know, we can't undo the fact that it is a 6-3 split. And if there is a Republican back in the White House in 2024, it could become to the point where we don't see any other type of ruling other than that favors dictators and authoritarianism for the next 50 years. Trump will put people in power that are younger and younger and younger. And what freaks me out is that we're not freaking out about this, right? We're like the frog in the water, where it's like we're just slowly turning up the temperature, and all of a sudden we're boiling to death and we didn't know. And that's what really concerns me. So that's the sunshine that I'm bringing to this topic today, and I welcome your thoughts.
What do you think, John? This good news or bad news? What?
So I mean, it's bad news. However, I do think that when we talk about the Supreme Court, there's a couple of things to remember, that it's not incredibly synchronous with the overall scope of politics. And when we're typically talking about Congress, talking about the president, there's a lot of different incentives for actions that don't always line up with the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court is an entity in and of itself. In 2020, if they had won it, like, they could have gone along with the coup in 2020, and they didn't. Like, they could have intentionally heard cases and allowed Trump to win them and thrown the entire thing to chaos, and they didn't. What they actually did with the Chevron case, as awful as that ruling was, because essentially, for those who don't know, it took the EPA, the SEC, all of these, the executive branch agencies that are supposed to essentially litigate these laws, because Congress will write a law that says, hey, make sure that companies don't do X. And then it's up to the agency to determine if they're in violation of that law or not. Well, that because of the Chevron doctrine. What getting rid of the Chevron doctrine did was it took the power away from the presidency and the executive branch and moved it to the courts. And so I think a lot of people talk about this as, hey, the Supreme Court is in cahoots with Trump and it's going to be this big thing, where I don't think that's the case. I do think that the conservative majority on the court is amenable to Project 2025 and all the things that are going on, and we definitely need to be scared, but I don't think it's in the same way where JD Vance is, Trump says jump and he says how high. I think that they're actually positioning themselves to be an equal power center in that kind of future, because the conflicts that you see, and you see Amy Coney Barrett, in the immunity decision, she kind of she went a little bit more in dissent while concurring, and said, hey, like, if he tries to put his own state of electors in, that wouldn't be an official act and he shouldn't do that. I think Alito and Scalia, they're all in. I don't necessarily think the ones that Trump actually appointed are so in on the whole coup of it.
Isn't that weird?
It is weird. It is weird. But then again, if you're assuming Trump is competent, he probably would have already been dictator. So he, I don't think he necessarily did the best job of picking if that was his goal. But I also don't think that was his entire goal, like the start of his presidency. I don't think he envisioned this whole pathway for himself.
I totally disagree here.
Really?
I think we're turning the water up and you're not realizing how hot it is, my friend.
I could be wrong. Natalie.
Everything that I'm hearing from my friends in the legal spaces, this shit is bad. This shit is bad. And I think we really should not give them any leeway on their behavior at this court. This court is legislating from the bench. And the thing I do agree with you on, and I'll take it a step further, I don't think they want equal power with the presidency. I think they want more power than the presidency, because I think they are being bought easily. And it's very clear. I mean, look at Clarence Thomas, for example, by the oligarchy in this country to do their bidding. And that's who's really running these things. To me, Trump will be gone someday, but this legacy remains. And that's what's got me nervous.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Is that I would argue they already have more power than the presidency. They won't expect, because like you mentioned, the presidency is temporary. The presidency is actually constrained by, I believe it or not, it is constrained in a lot of ways by the courts, or as one, and by law codes of ethics. I like that the Supreme Court has not had a code of ethics. I know, has not had a code of ethics the entire time. And then they came up with one, a year and a half ago, and which basically said, we need you to be good boys and girls. If you're not, that's too bad. That's pretty much what it was. Yeah. And
there's a lollipop either way.
Yeah. And I was gonna say, you mentioned that you have a constitutional scholar that comes on your show, whatever. And I was just imagining, man, what a fucking know-it-all that guy must be. I don't know what it was like. He's just sitting there talking about ex post facto laws and bills of attainder the entire time. Like, oh my God, I couldn't imagine.
You should get him. I'm going to see if he'll do your show, because he would be fantastic. His name's Jerry Dickinson. He ran for Congress here in Pennsylvania. He was adopted, one of many kids. He grew up in the foster care system. He was adopted by white parents. One of his brothers ended up incarcerated. He became a lawyer to really help his community. Jerry is one of the coolest people ever. And God, the man is so freaking bright, but he's so thoughtful and reasonable. And he always, in your defense, John, he always pulls me back from the ledge. He goes, okay, let's just talk this through. And I'm like, okay, because I'm ready to freak out, so he would be a great get. I'll see if you're up for him. I think it would be a really cool segment.
Well, if you wouldn't mind channeling him for a second, because it's curious that you said he pulls you from the ledge, because I was right about to ask, what, you said that people need to be more worried about the Supreme Court, and I agree. And it's honestly the primary reason why it's important to defeat Trump. I think the biggest one of all is that we could easily lose a Supreme Court justice or two in the next the next 4 years, and allowing the court to go 8-1 is unthinkable. Actually, it's not unthinkable. I can't think about that, but it's just a nightmare. So. People who know this, I think, that do understand the balance of the Supreme Court is, on a razor's edge, and the Republicans have a 20-year advantage on us going forward, and we have to do everything we can to stem that tide. But what exactly can we do about this other than vote in the next election? I mean, what do we do? What do we tell people about this?
Yeah, I love that question, because I do think it's important that we obviously vote for president, right? Because that is an important part of all of this. But the people that really impact you on the day-to-day are the ones that are in local positions of power here in our communities. And beyond that, I say get involved with something that means something to you, whether that's an anti-fracking campaign, whether that's paid leave for all, whether that's healthcare for all. I think we think voting is enough, and it's an important part of democracy, but we all need to get off the sidelines and really into the game in multiple ways, because you're right, they played the long game. And there's always that, it's not really a joke, but that saying that Democrats, go to sleep at the wheel for 4 years and then come and vote for every presidential election. Meanwhile, the Republicans have been dealing with the local elections and have been putting their people in place for 30, 40 years now. And we're seeing the ramifications of that in the local courts all over this country, and in local elections. So to me, it's a two-prong approach of you need to vote in every election. They all matter, right down to your council, right in your own backyard. And you need to get involved with at least one organization that means something to you, because what we've really lost sight of in this country is community. Everything is about us versus them. It's actually about all of us together. We are going to sink or swim together. And so building community in real life with people that want to move the ball forward, they may not vote like you, but I think you'll find it interesting. Sometimes there are strange bedfellows that come together on larger issues.
Yeah, and I also just want to clarify. I agree that like the temperature is going up. The distinction
John,
that I was
I
trying
didn't
to
mean to
make.
get so hot.
No, it's totally fine. And I agree with everything you just said. Like, it's the most impact any individual can have is voting in those local elections, getting those local people in place. But I'm just saying that the worst case scenario that is in all of our minds is like Nazi Germany level bad.
Yeah.
And Nazi Germany level bad is the courts are in on it. And that the distinction I'm making is I don't think that's the case. I think the Supreme Court is making its own play. And it, as TJ said, if the Supreme Court is reigning in the presidency, that worst case scenario probably doesn't happen. The worst case scenario is the courts just do the bidding of the presidency, which would be very, very bad. And I don't think even if we end up with an 8-1 that really becomes the case unless there is a martial coup of some sort. And that's all I was saying there. But no, yeah, it's bad. Like all of these, like the Chevron decision in and of itself, honestly, that's the one that kills me the most. Because the immunity one, I don't actually think that changes anything unless a worst case scenario sort of event happens. The Chevron case just, it blows up our entire, the way all laws are constructed relied on Chevron. Yeah. And now everything is just a clusterfuck, which I think is really funny coming from the conservative small government side of things. It's like, oh, we just want lawyers deciding what should and shouldn't be done instead of like paid experts. Like that's the one that really pisses me off the most. And I think will do the most damage long term. But yeah, it's just going to get worse from here. Like it doesn't get better unless we change the court.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry, please.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say that I think it requires everyone to like actually just kind of develop a vision to see what can be unburdened by what has been. That's all I was going to say about that. And so I don't know, Natalie, what did you have to add to that?
No, I just love it. The only other thing I was going to add is, I don't want to also discount the severe damage that the fall of Roe has caused to so many pregnant people and women and others around the nation. I just had the woman who was featured in Biden's ad called Willow. Her name is Amanda Zarowski, and she was pregnant in Texas. And I had her on the radio talking about what happened after Roe fell. She had a miscarriage, went septic. The doctors were not allowed to treat her. They were all freaking out. They said, we can't do anything for you until you're basically near death. So she ended up going back 3 days later, almost did die, and is now permanently, the damage was so bad to her internal organs that she'll probably never be able to have a child. And so I think, when we talk about these high-minded ideas and we talk about these statistics and these numbers, we forget real people are being harmed. And it's counterproductive, right? The issue of abortion is a perfect example of there were more abortions in 2023 than ever. And our infant mortality rate rose, I think, 12% or 21%. It rose significantly.
And this is mortality rate too.
Yes, and the maternal mortality rate. So these are things that are killing us and maiming us and causing great, great harm. And we know that they're going to impact Black, brown, and working class communities harder than most. And so to me, it's like all of this intertwines together, and it really comes down to who is benefiting with these new, laws being either put in place or chaos being put in place. And why are people supporting those who are actively harming them? And that's what concerns me the most when we get back to the philosophical point of this is who do we want to be moving forward? Because these people are not working for your best interest, no matter what they tell you.
I agree 100%. That's a cut right there. That was a good ending, and then Natalie brought us home with that one. We always like it when it's a good, strong ending to a clip right there. It's fantastic. And speaking of ending clips, we only have Natalie for like 8 more minutes here, and so John, we want to cut the bumper here now. Yeah, so I don't know if we did this last time when you were on, Natalie, where basically it's just John will start off and then, I should have saved the Kamala Harris quote for the ending. That would have been a good place. I just thought about that. But No, John will just say, hey, thanks for watching the show. Here's our guest, Natalie. Here's where you can find our content. And then you say where you can find it. And then I'll put a button on it. So she'll take a minute.
I am sad we didn't get to talk about JD Vance because
I hate him so God, much. We are all reading each other's minds today because this one would take a minute. And I want us to jump into JD Vance for 5 minutes while you're still here. That's so great. That's so great. All right. When you're ready, John.
All right, guys, you made it to the end of the episode, which means you are one of our favorite viewers. Thank you so much. And with any luck, we're recording this on Thursday. Maybe Biden has already stepped down right now. And if he has, you better be commenting, liking, subscribing, and everything about how happy you are to see it. If you guys enjoyed listening to our wonderful guest this week, I'll let her tell you where you can find her other places.
I have them tongue-tied, Hey, everybody, I'm Natalie Bencivenga. You can find me at Natalie Bencivenga on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, TikTok. I have a website, nataliebencivenga.com. You can also check me out on the radio, 100.1 FM and AM 1020 KDKA here in Pittsburgh. And if you're outside of Pittsburgh, go to kdkaradio.com and you can stream it live or play it back. I talk about all these things, and I got to get both of these guys on my show. So stay tuned for that.
Fantastic. We appreciate the offer there, Natalie. We'll join as soon as we can. Thank you guys for watching the show, and we would like to welcome you all to the Neo K Hive. We are glad to have you here, and we are going to go strong. Kamala's our mamala. Catch you next time. All right, cool. So I want
Neo K Hive. I absolutely love that phrase.
That's what we are. That's who we are now, man. Like I used to make fun of those folks 5 years ago, but now I'm all on board. Natalie, I don't know what you had to say about JD Vance. There's so much that we're going to talk about even when you're gone. But what I want to pop out there with JD Vance is that his name is not JD Vance. His name is like James Bowman or something. That's his actual name, his birth name. So, we know how they feel about, creating your own names and pronouns and shit. So no one referred to him as JD Vance. And also, what I want to mention about JD Vance is only 39 years old. First off, he looks way older. He's 39. And he has been in politics for a grand total of like 3 years. He first won election 3 years ago, which has really got to piss off like Tim Scott and Doug Burgum. Can you imagine?
Tim Scott got married for this.
God, I know, right? I know. Oh God, like some fucking baby they just pulled up who's been in politics 10 minutes. Oh, it's gonna chop him so bad. What you got to say about JD there, Natalie?
Oh, I just hate him. I just wanted it to be very clear on the record how I feel about this person. I mean, there are very few people that I reserve that word for, truly. But my gosh, is he just disgusting? I mean, first of all, he's a liar, right? He's a racist. He's a misogynist. He's xenophobic.
Natalie, we know he's a Republican, but what do you hate about him?
5 points, John. That was great. Oh, that was great.
All right, John wins the day for that one. I think what really bothers me about all of this is I'm just going to come back with the confidence of a mediocre white male because they just seem to fail up, man. Like this guy, like you said, TJ, he has been in politics for a hot minute and he gets to be in this position. Like
insane.
It wouldn't happen to any other kind of person. Like it just wouldn't. And of course it's the Republican Party. I mean, this guy, the idea that he could be close enough to have his finger on the nuclear.
Are you a racist?
Like that freaks me out. Trump is old as fuck too. There's a good chance he could die in office if he's reelected. And then we're stuck with this guy. Are you kidding me? No, thank you. This man wants women to stay in abusive relationships. He doesn't believe in any exception for abortion, for the life of mother, anything. This guy is trash and we need to take him out with the rest of the garbage, in my opinion.
Yeah, I love it. And you mentioned who would be in this? I was trying to think of, has anyone been nominated to the vice presidency this young? I think of one example, and I only know because of what happened. Theodore Roosevelt. Theodore Roosevelt was around 40 years old when he got the vice presidency, but he was already like governor of New York. Right. He was the colonel that led the Rough Riders. Like, the guy had a hell of a resume. Like JD Vance wrote a book shitting on his family and everything, and all of a sudden they love him. And I wanted to share that you mentioned that he was a racist, and
I did.
I don't know if you saw this. but JD Vance would like to ask you guys a question.
Oh.
Are you a racist?
I don't know if you saw that. JD Vance
Is he asking himself a rhetorical question?
I know, right? It's a clip I love.
Are you a racist? Do you hate Mexicans?
Wow.
I think I think the Republicans got their guy. I think they got, like you said, John. He's a Republican. We all know it.
Wait, TJ, play that out. I need to hear how.
Oh,
I need to know where this is going.
Suspense. Yeah, where is it?
Okay,
where
hold
is
on.
this narrative going?
Yeah, so it's a campaign ad, as you saw. Let me find it up here. JD Vance.
What's the call to action? Is it? Are you a racist?
Join
For me,
us.
it can't be
If
that.
not, let me share some campaign ideas with you. Hold on here.
Are you a racist? Do you hate Mexicans? The media calls us racist for wanting to build Trump's wall. Joe Biden's open border is killing Ohioans. With more illegal drugs and more Democrat voters pouring into this country, we will put America first.
The open border with Mexico is killing Ohioans.
Yep, that's my favorite part.
They're getting all the way up to Ohio.
It is wild how they say that shit. It is wild. Like a state, you couldn't be closer to the middle of the country than Ohio and or Iowa. Yeah, I don't know. It's like you talk like I remember this interview years ago. They asked this couple like, "What's your main concern?" Like, we're concerned about illegal immigration. Like, okay, well, where do you live? Well, we live in Minnesota. Like, okay, all right. The southern border is really worried because I know. Yeah, I know it's kind of wild. Oh, I haven't read the comments, but Kyle says he actually doesn't answer the question with a definitive no. True. He never.
No, he doesn't.
He says, "Are you a racist?" The media thinks we are. Like, okay, odd. Okay, maybe there's a reason for that.
No, I am just blown away. How just low. Every time I think we've hit the basement or like we can't get any lower, it's like, oh no, there's a new level of hell just waiting for us. And there he is, awaiting us. And the whole conversation around immigration, I just had a woman, Melanie Boyer, on my show today, and she runs the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce here in Pittsburgh. And we talked a lot about the negative rhetoric around immigration and just how offensive, like to so many Americans to hear an elected official say this kind of disgusting, divisive, violent rhetoric. And I just find it so ironic that they were all saying that we needed to tone it down over here. The Democrats were the ones creating all of this, negative talk. And meanwhile, they're openly asking for people to act on their racist tendencies. And I just find it so disturbing that this man is in any position of authority. He's not fit to be on a school board, let alone vice president of the United States. And we need to really figure out what we're doing here, because this is not okay. Yeah, I mean, look at this. It's disgusting. And our country is losing population year over year, and we need immigrants. We absolutely need people to come here and be a part of the fabric of this nation like they always have been. And it's just infuriating to me that this narrative continues to be spun out, and that people are choosing this arbitrary and false sense of security over community. It's disgusting.
I agree. All right. Well, Natalie, we're going to continue to dunk on JD Vance.
I'm sorry to go. It's my new favorite thing to do. Get used to.
Well, I was going to say, hopefully we can do it again. Hopefully, I mean, JD Vance doesn't win. We're going to be forced to talk about him as vice president or, God forbid, president for the next 4 years. But
the conversation ends in November. We never
exactly. Right. But yeah, we appreciate you coming on, Natalie, as always, and come back anytime. And I sent an email to your assistant too, so hopefully we can get on your show as well.
Yeah. Oh, I'd love it.
All right, fantastic. Catch you later.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
No problem. All right, so John, let's talk more about JD Vance here. What do you think? So, do you remember hearing about JD Vance years ago when I mentioned that he wrote a book shitting on his family? For those of you who don't know, the book was called Hillbilly Elegy. You ever heard of that?
Yeah, no, I had heard of Hillbilly Elegy independently of JD Vance. Like, I didn't realize he wrote Hillbilly Elegy until this news cycle. Like, I didn't realize it was the same dude. Yeah.
Oh my God. Oh, that's cool. Yeah. So Hillbilly Elegy was, you know what's funny? When like words get crossed in your brain sometimes, for some reason I knew it was Hillbilly Elegy, but my thought is Hillbilly Eulogy. That's what I think whenever I hear it. And I was like, oh yeah, it's elegy, which like for those of you who don't know, eulogy is like a funeral speech and elegy is like a poem or something like that. They're two very different things,
Hillbilly
which I guess
Elegy is a fire title. Like that is a very, very, very good title for a book. I got to give credit where credit's due, of course.
Yeah. And so I haven't read the book. I think it's a movie too, but I haven't. Okay. Have you seen the book or read the movie?
Haven't read the movie or seen the book.
No. Never seen the book. Yeah. Is that what I said?
Yeah.
Oh shit. Okay. Well, I didn't even catch it, but yeah. But from what I could gather, it's just about life in Appalachia and how these people are downtrodden and how the system's against them. But overall, if they just worked hard, they could work their way out of it. Because I guess he was born to like these the dregs that he keeps talking about in the book or whatever, and he like worked his way up. He went to Yale or something, and he's got an Ivy League degree, and now he's in politics and everything. And it's just about how if you can be conservative, you can take all these good old country values and rise yourself to the top, and people need to stop complaining. That's kind of what I got from this, and it's more just what are you doing? I saw a bunch of these guys went to Yale. It was like Ron DeSantis and JD Vance and just a bunch of these Republicans that went to Yale. The Bushes is kind of weird.
Yeah, so I want to like just harp on what you just mentioned there with like, these people, if they just worked hard, they can improve their station in life.
Mm-hmm.
And JD Vance is an example of that. He wasn't born into luxury and wealth. I hesitate when people make fun of JD Vance for being an idiot, because I don't think he is, and that's what scares me about JD Vance. If you look at Jason Stanley's 10 Pillars of Fascism, which is something I made a TikTok about the first 5 pillars and how it applies to Trump. I'm currently making one about the second 5 pillars. And the last one, 10, is Arbeit macht frei, which is a German saying. And essentially what it's saying is, they are lazy and undeserving. We are hardworking. And you see this appeal to work ethic all the time in fascist regimes. And it's a populist appeal, but it's bullshit. Like, yeah, some people can work hard and get out of there, but not everyone can. And it becomes this self-fulfilling prophecy where, the people who are successful must be because they worked hard and they deserve their success. And the people who are unsuccessful must be because they didn't deserve their success. It's kind of that, prosperity gospel. The same kind of idea. And I see JD Vance as a very intelligent person who is very intentionally leaning into these hyper-conservative trappings for the sake of implementing fascism. And I think that is the scariest part of this pick for Trump, because it's a terrible VP pick electorally.
It really is.
Really, really stupid one. There were options that were very loyal to Trump. Like, if Trump is valuing loyalty above all things and wants to make a more electorally sound pick, Tim Scott's sitting right there. He's obviously very loyal to you. He would cut his own dick off for Donald Trump, I'm pretty darn sure. But like, JD Vance is this is someone who is even farther right than I am. He is more socially conservative. And I don't think it's real. I don't think he believes in his heart of hearts these things. I think he knows that these things can give him the kind of power that he wants. And that's what really scares me about JD Vance. I do think he is the scariest pick that Trump could have possibly chosen.
Shit. Oh, okay. I thought my mic was muted. But yeah, JD Vance, the pick didn't make sense to me either. I'm still trying to like figure out why he thought of choosing JD Vance, because you're right. Like, we talked about the potential choices for Trump's VP, and I stood by like most of the choices, and Vance would be lumped in with these, didn't necessarily help Trump, but I don't think are really going to hurt him. I just don't think that
I think
a lot
Vance
of people
hurts him. I think
I don't
Vance
know.
actively hurts them.
I don't think anyone who was going to vote for Trump is going to look at JD Vance like, oh my God, look how anti-abortion this guy. I don't know. I just don't think there's a lot of people like that. Maybe there's a few, but he's also from a red state. It's not going to matter. It's not like he's going to get anything there. I thought there were picks that could definitely help him. Like Nikki Haley would have been a pick that would have helped him, but everybody else I kind of lumped together. And with Vance, you mentioned like it doesn't even pass the loyalty one either. You could see Trump picking someone. Okay, this person's going to help me. They're going to help. I may not like them, but I may need to secure a certain group, like Pence with the evangelicals. Which is funny that the evangelicals love Trump way more than Pence now. It's kind of funny how that worked out. Fuck you, Mike Pence. But with JD Vance, it's not even the loyalty thing. Like, I was trying to pull it up over here, but a few years ago when Trump ran for office, JD Vance was shitting on him all the time. Do you remember that? He was just, yeah, he literally called him Hitler. Yeah, and this goes into what you were saying, that JD Vance isn't dumb like your standard idea of what a right winger is. Like, he's an opportunist. He sees a lane, he's going to take it. Now, he thought the lane of reasonable, calm, rational Republican. His roommate, I was trying to find it. I don't know if you saw the Twitter feed from his roommate in college, but he's talking about, yeah, JD Vance was actually a pretty cool guy back in the day. He was a decent dude. They mentioned how they had like a trans friend or something, and JD Vance was like really close with them, and like they got hurt, and he would bring them food after surgery and stuff. And that's the guy, I think that's the guy he was texting when JD Vance said Trump was Hitler. And that was a few years ago, but now he's like, I don't recognize the guy anymore. The guy is completely, he said he's literally drunk the Kool-Aid was the quote. So yeah, I agree. Vance isn't, he's evil, but he's not stupid, which I think makes him dangerous.
Yeah. Let's look at the timeline here, TJ. In 2016, he's calling Trump Hitler. He is accurately assessing how dangerous Donald Trump is. Fast forward, he writes Hillbilly Elegy. Trump really likes it. Trump liked JD Vance before he was ever in politics because he read Hillbilly Elegy and really liked it. And then JD Vance takes a look around and he sees Biden sitting there in the presidency. He makes the same assessment we did, TJ, that Biden would be a weak candidate in 2024 and the Democrats really shouldn't run him. And he was like, you know what? I'm going to get myself into Congress in 2022, and I'm going to be very, very pro-Trump because I know as long as I'm pro-Trump, I will have power as long as Trump has power. And I think that Trump is going to have power. He accurately assessed that Trump was Hitler. He accurately assessed that Biden was an incredibly weak candidate, and he made a goddamn business decision, TJ. And he was like, I'm going to go all in on this. And I think that, as you said, he said those things, but I think that's what Trump values. I think Trump values that, he's going to just fundamentally go against his own personal beliefs and kiss my ring. I think that's more valuable to Trump than someone like a Marjorie Taylor Greene, where it's like, she's just all in all the way. And he's like, yeah, that's cool. But like, it doesn't really do much for me. He doesn't just want to win. He wants the other team to lose. You know what I mean? And like Marco Rubio is another good example, who I thought would have probably been the smartest pick of what we ended up with the final like drawing.
Yeah.
But he values that. And I think that loyalty, the dogmatic approach to the ideology, and I think it does signal that Trump really is in on Project 2025 because Vance has been outspokenly supportive of it and the Heritage Foundation. I think that it kind of signals to us that any sliver of hope that Project 2025 was being driven in spite of Trump, we know that this is going to align with Trump. No, I think he's very much in on it. I think it's the strategy. Trump has run a better campaign than we could have possibly expected him to have in 2020, because I think he has, smarter people around him, and I think JD Vance is unfortunately one of them.
Yeah. Trump. That's a good call right there. That makes a lot of sense. That Trump doesn't need any more like fire breathing dogmatic preachers of this shit. It's like, okay, that's everybody around me. I need. He made like a Homelander picking Sister Sage move or something, and instead of Firecracker or something like that. I don't know if you watched the last episode of The Boys.
So I haven't seen the last one yet. I just watched the one where at the end, Firecracker's milking them, or other way around. But like, I swear to God, did you see Marjorie Taylor Greene at the convention? This is a little bit non sequitur, but did you see Marjorie Taylor Greene at the convention when she was like, and I saw an angel draped in the American flag save Trump from that bullet.
Oh no, I didn't see that.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Oh,
and I was literally like, because in that episode that we're talking about, the Firecracker, people who don't know, The Boys, it's just a satire of what's going on currently. And there's a character, Firecracker, who's very specifically Marjorie Taylor Greene. And she literally made in the episode the Jewish space lasers reference that Marjorie Taylor Greene did. And it is incredible. I watched that from Marjorie Taylor Greene. I was like, that's exactly what Firecracker would say.
It is.
This is just art imitating life, imitating art. Let me tell you, like, it's insane.
It's got to, like, it's actually too on the nose, unfortunately. Like, I think the season's been way more than usual. It's been really like critical soup theory. Like, they're going really heavy handed with this shit. And this
but then it's real. Like, I agree. It feels so heavy handed. But then Marjorie Taylor Greene says shit that Firecracker would say. I can't even be like, yo, you're being unrealistic.
Did you notice that Firecracker in the show, her character's real name is like Mindy Tucker Gray? Did you notice that?
No.
That was great. That was a good touch. I thought that was pretty funny. I was, oh my God, her initials are actually MTG. But yeah, that's what is going on here. That Trump picked someone who like he thinks is smart, I guess, and there's just, oh, you know what? Oh, I think I X'd out of the oh no, I didn't. I mentioned I have right here, TJ. My first day podcasting. But with where is it? This is all right. This is JD Vance. For those of you who want to catch a glimpse of who may be your vice president one day, this dude looks 48. I can't believe it. I guess he has like a youthful face or whatever, but there's just something about him that makes him look older than a guy who's still in his 30s. I don't know. He's just he's a weird looking dude.
The really, really bad facial hair.
It's terrible.
And hair in general. It's because the hair overgrows the beard. And the beard is unkempt, and then also he's got the eyebrows, and it just looks like he was in the woods for a while, and then they're like, hey, put on a suit and come to the Republican National Convention, and like no one ever taught him how to groom himself. Like, that's what it looks like. And then we have Matt Gaetz on the other end. Let's wrap up JD Vance. Let's stay on JD Vance, and then we'll move to the RNC in general.
Fuck. Oh, one thing about JD Vance, you mentioned, that's a good point, because hair does do a lot to shape how old you look. So, like, you know how people talk about, you look at pictures like of NBA players in 1974 and they all look 42, like every last one of them. Like, here's Artis Gilmore and he looks like a 48-year-old man. He's 23. You're like, what the fuck? It's a lot of it is the hairstyles and the facial hair that everyone kind of had the same hair. Like young people didn't really wear their hair a whole lot different than older people. You had afros with bald spots. You had giant thick mustaches. Everyone, and beards. Everyone had the same thing. Then later throughout I guess the 60s when it started, the 70s, people started really diversifying how young people had their hair. So if you have a young face and old facial hair, it'll age you 10 years. Do you think he did that on purpose? He's only 39. Yeah. Like, looking older actually would help him. And you don't want to look. That's like you ever see him without the beard? He looks like a child. So yeah.
Actually, I love in that AP article that you sent, like to prep for this. It has a quote where it's like, yeah, Donald Trump really liked his beard. And I was like, this is the least serious fucking journalism I've ever heard. But it's true. And I guarantee you that in Trump's mind, him having that beard, like he gets him a little turned on. I don't know. He's a strong man. He's got a good beard.
Oh, all right. So what are your thoughts on what you saw at the RNC so far? I don't know what you've seen, but I saw Matt Gaetz and Kimberly Guilfoyle, and I meant to like put a clip together of those two, but did you see those folks? Because I made a actually, let me find out what Matt Gaetz. Everyone was clowning on Matt Gaetz and how he looked at the RNC because he has like this really bad Botox thing he's got going on.
I got it here. Yeah, this is the worst Botox thing I have like ever seen. He looks like a Romulan. Like,
yeah. I heard someone say that. It looks like a Romulan. That's funny. I heard the same thing.
I saw this. I thought this was a fucking banger here. Matt Gaetz is one of the.
Look at those eyebrows, man.
I wish Natalie was still here because when she was talking about male insecurity.
Oh yeah,
that's him to a T. Because look at this.
Yeah,
this looks like Jane Fonda level terrible plastic surgery. Like it's awful, and it's you only get that from being so insecure about your appearance that you're like, yo, I'm going to take the nuclear option, and doing it right before the RNC is absurd. It's actually absurd to just take this much of a risk at that point. I can't believe it's actually real. It looks fake. Again, if this happened in The Boys, you'd be like, oh, this is over the top. This is unrealistic, but it's real fucking life, TJ. Like this whole RNC convention has just made me go, nah, The Boys is actually a little bit tamer, I think.
Oh God, I wanted to pull up on because I took that Matt Gaetz image and I posted I made a meme out of it that said showed Matt Gaetz picture and the text said, if Batman does not reveal himself by midnight, I will bring Gotham to its knees, because he does look, a lot like the Joker with those creepy ass eyebrows and everything. And I wanted to, so this is actually an old one, and so it might not be quite fair, but let me see here. Do you guys know who Donald Trump Jr.'s fiance is? Oh, by any chance?
Miss last week, I think.
Oh, Miss Kimberly Guilfoyle. Now she really does look like a Batman villain. Like she is just a horrifying looking individual, and I don't understand like how people don't see this face. And it's like, yeah, maybe we're the baddies. Maybe we're not on the right side of history here. She looks like every time she talks, she reminds me of like the Hunger Games speeches when like her cadence, like just how she sounds is just brutal and awful. And it's a grim spectacle. These oh shit, I have another thing going here for the debate. I wanted to share the speakers at this debate. Did you see the speakers list for who's going on? I think this is tonight. And so you would expect, your politicians, maybe your surrogates, maybe a Rudy Giuliani or something like that. Just people tangentially involved in politics, of course. But here's a list of folks we have here. We got so Mike Pompeo, that's what you expect. Alina Habba, Donald Trump's fucking lawyer. Why is she making a speech at the RNC? What could she possibly have to add? I guess like, I helped defend Trump in his rape case. That's the only thing she's known for. And she's speaking at the Republican National Convention. Tucker Carlson, that one kind of makes sense. Hulk Hogan, John. Hulk Hogan. Right?
Hogan's great.
Hulk Hogan is so, because Hulk Hogan is known for three things, I would say. He's known for being an iconic wrestler in the 1980s and I guess 1990s too. By the way, I don't know if do you remember like the song they would play when Hulk Hogan would come in? You ever hear about this? Like, I am a real American. Do you ever hear that song?
I'm sure I have, but I'm not a big WWE guy.
Yeah, it's before your time. I was like a child when this was big, but I loved hearing that song. It's like, fight for the right of every man. It was so catchy. And Hulk Hogan would come in, he'd rip off his shirt, he flex his muscles and everything. And I loved that song. And then I found out the guy that wrote the song is like a far right, like Alex Jones supporter now. It's like, God damn, him too. I can't have anything. And he's also known for a reality TV show he had like in the late 90s, early 2000s, and for being a racist. Like it turned out that he's just a giant racist. He's like makes racial slurs. He fires people in his staff for being racist.
He also killed Deadspin. That's the other thing I know him for.
Wait, how did he kill Deadspin?
there was they like released his sex tape or something.
The sex
like
tape.
That,
oh, okay, I remember that. Yeah,
and yeah, it was a big deal. That was just in my going on when I was in college in my media law classes, and we dissected the fuck out of
that. Franklin Graham. I get. So Billy Graham. I have my complaints with a lot of religious folks and everything, but of all like the famous preachers, Billy Graham is the one I seem to have the least problems with. Like, he was active like during the civil rights era, and he wasn't openly racist, which is really saying something for an evangelical preacher from back in those days. So, I mean, he was at least more progressive than most. I don't know if he was personally racist or not, but he never said like Jerry Falwell or Bob Jones Sr. Yeah, racism is great. We love it. We're going to segregate everything. But Franklin Graham is just, God, he's just awful these days. Eric Trump, I love how Trump's family members are like peppered all throughout this. Like Kimberly Guilfoyle, Donald Trump, Eric Trump, Donald Trump's granddaughter, like some girl I'd never seen before. Did you see that, John? That she spoke at
no, I didn't even see that. No.
Yeah, it was yesterday. She's like 18, and she was up there speaking because it's just Donald Trump's family running the whole thing now, and Dana White, because why not, right? Why not?
My favorite part of this is that Dana White gets the lead in, not Eric.
Yeah,
not Eric.
Yeah.
Dana does.
It's so funny you point this out, because I was like, wait a minute, like, why is Eric Trump featured that night and with everybody else? But you're right, Dana White is the big draw. Like, who gives a fuck about Eric Trump? Like as unimpressive as the Trump children are, he seems to be the least. It's just like
I need to like beat it. Like I bet you. I really hope that this happened. Eric Trump was supposed to be the lead-in, and then Dana offered to do it, and Donald was like, "Oh, bro, you're getting the lead-in spot. You're speaking of the RNC." And Eric was like, "But Daddy, I thought I was supposed to have the lead-in." And he's like, "Well, son, get your numbers up. You can't do shit to Dana, so it kind of sucks to suck."
Oh, I would love to be a fly on the wall for that conversation. Like, I don't know. It's just like the Trump children, and it's just, I guess only two of them, Eric and Don Jr., are the ones who are constantly begging for their father's attention. Like, and look, Trump, he has a weird fascination with his daughter, like, obviously, but she does seem to be the most competent of the three. I got to tell you, like, if I had to like trust my accounts with one of them,
Ivanka hasn't popped up, right?
No, well, she doesn't want to be involved in this.
I think she's distancing herself.
Yeah, she is. Yeah, she's
the Roy daughter that wants to distance herself from the fascism. If we're talking secession terms here,
I haven't seen Secession. I've heard great things about it. Yeah, Ate told me that's a great show, but it does make you wonder why. Like I don't see any downside, even if you don't like your dad or you don't like politics, whatever. I mean, being around the White House would benefit you. Like, it just would. There's just like the power and the influence, the knowledge. I don't understand why. I mean, who cares? But it's just interesting to me that she's decided to completely distance herself from now, unless she's afraid of like prison stuff. I don't know, because Trump is going to be.
Ivanka has always been more left-leaning than Donald. And I do think that she might just be like, "Yo, you've gone too far off the deep end here. I don't want to be associated with this." Or she's just kind of like Melania, where she's like, "I don't want to deal with it." Like, I tried. I got into this. My what the hell's her husband? Kushner? Like,
yeah, Jared Kushner.
He's an idiot. And she was just like, "I don't want to deal with this anymore." And I can totally see that. Whereas like Eric and Don Jr. are just like, we want the secession, like we want to be the next in line. I don't know which one it was Eric or Don Jr., but he was talking, I think it was on CNN, whatever, and he was with Vivek Ramaswamy. Put that in the thumbnail, by the way. He was like, "This is going to be my running mate in
2028 or 2032. No, 2032.
It was 32, which I thought was the weirdest fucking year for him to say.
Yeah, that was weird.
Because if you're thinking about this, that means he thinks that his dad is going to win, and then the Democrat is going to win in 28, and then he's going to somehow beat that Democrat, even though his dad is out of power now. It doesn't make any sense unless there is actually an internal plan for Trump to try and have another term after this. And he just that was a Freudian slip on his part. Or he's just an idiot and doesn't know how elections and years work. Which is also a possible explanation.
That's exactly what I was about to say, that he probably doesn't know presidents are limited to 8 years. Like he probably doesn't know that. That's as good a guess as any, if you ask me. So yeah, Eric Trump, a weird kid. I was looking for hold on, let me see. I think it's the video right here. It's Eric Trump talking about his family, and I love Eric Trump videos. I love them. I tell people, like, I post them on TikToks. Like, listen, I know you guys are for more Eric Trump content, and I got it for you. Nobody gives a fuck, but he's just the most fascinating Trump kid for me, because like Donald Trump Jr. is the insane kid. He's coked out of his mind. He's on 100 different podcasts. He's just running around, shaking his head cut off. There's a great story where he's in college. I don't know if you ever heard the story, but when he was in college, his college roommate told the story. Donald Trump showed up to Donald Trump Jr.'s dorm room, and they were going to go to a baseball game. And he said that Don Jr. was talking the whole week about how excited he was to get to hang out with his dad and go to this baseball game. And he shows up and he walks into the dorm room, and Donald Trump Jr. is wearing a Yankees jersey. And Donald Trump slapped the shit out of him. He just slapped the shit out of him. It's like, we're going to be out in public, put on a suit. And I was like, that probably explains their entire dynamic together. So he's like the insane one. He's always begging for attention. Ivanka's the competent one. Barron's the child. Tiffany's the forgotten one. But Eric Trump Jr. Eric Trump just seems like a husk of a person, you know, like he's like a T-1000 without the superpowers. He's just kind of there's something off about him, but you can't tell what it is. And the video I got here, this is Eric Trump talking about his family life and how they're good, decent people. Let me see if I get this playing here.
Because I wake up at 4:30 in the morning every single morning. I say the Pledge of Allegiance to my 5-year-old and my 3-year-old. In fact, they say them now, and they do so beautifully. And then I say the Lord's Prayer, and I say 2 other little family prayers that we have. And then I make them say something that's meaningful to them. I do this every single night at 7:45, no matter where I am in the world. If I can't be there, I'm doing it on FaceTime with my wife and kids. They see my and honestly, guys, that's how I live a clean, positive life.
I love that video. I love it so much. He wakes up at 4:30 in the morning and recites the Pledge of Allegiance with his children. He does the same thing before they go to bed, and it just shows like this is how little they think about you folks. This is what they think would actually work on people. And I swear to God, there's gonna be people like, oh, isn't that great? Look at the great job Donald Trump did with those kids. And I can't get enough of it, man. Like, I know Trump's not gonna be around long, but I'm glad that the Trump kids will be around for a while. Hopefully, God willing.
Yeah, and to segue, I want to segue away from the Trump kids to say a couple other things about the RNC here. You brought it up earlier, and we just have to talk about this. What's her name?
Guilfoyle.
Guilfoyle. Yeah, it's right there on my screen. This was so. I've been going back and forth all day of whether this is intentional misdirection or pure stupidity.
Interesting.
So we'll just play the clip here.
It is no wonder that the heroes who stormed the beaches of Normandy and faced down communism sadly say they don't recognize our country anymore. This is not an accident.
Yeah, well, TJ, why might the heroes who stormed Normandy to fight communism, why might they not recognize this country anymore? Do you have any ideas? What they might not recognize about that statement, maybe?
Yeah, maybe because those people don't exist, because we didn't storm Normandy to fight communism. I don't know. Like
we fought alongside communism.
Yeah, right. Yeah, they were kind of our allies and everything. So you were asking whether this was just a mistake or intentional misdirection. I fall on the side of mistake because, like, for a couple of reasons. Maybe I'm being so generous to Kimberly fucking Guilfoyle here. Like maybe she meant to say, like, as two different things, like the people who fought at Normandy and the people who fought against communism, like in, two different sets of people.
But no
like
one
the
ever fought against communism.
Well, I mean, like World War II and Cold War, so maybe that's what she was talking about. Or more likely, maybe it was like how we mentioned before, how these terms have lost meaning with people. Like fascism just means bad, and to these folks. And so communism just means bad. So yeah, the Nazis must have been communists because the Nazis were bad. That's my guess, because I don't think, honestly, that folks like Kimberly Guilfoyle are sophisticated enough to actually sort out the difference between what that shit means. I don't think so, at least.
That is fair. I guess I am giving her a little bit too much credit, but I do think that like rewriting World War II as somehow against communism would I'm still sharing. I didn't even realize. Would certainly be in the playbook of a fascist to want to rewrite that thing. And that's exactly the kind of thing that they would say. But you're right. I don't think Kimberly Guilfoyle is really getting the marching orders on that one.
No. And even if it was written that way, because like the speechwriters are probably intelligent folks, they probably know this. But like Republicans call socialists, like they say, oh, there's National Socialists in there. Look at that. They must have been leftists. Like it's like, once again, text and no subtext. That's except there's one notable example when they can kind of try to read subtext, and that's with Thomas Matthew Crooks, or is it Matthew Thomas? I forget which how his name
Thomas.
Works. Yeah,
Thomas is the first name.
Yeah, Thomas Crooks, where he's a registered Republican. Yeah, but he donated to a blue order. Oh, so it doesn't matter then that he's a Republican. Is that what you're trying to say? Like, I find that pretty funny that all of a sudden they get really good at understanding.
No, TJ, there was a party split between 2020.
Oh God! Oh, that's great. I should use that one. There's a party switch ever since then. Because that's been really obnoxious to me, where they talk about like you mentioned, like well, the Democrats started the KKK, so obviously they're the same thing, and then go on to defend everything about the Confederacy they possibly can without noticing that. But I want to talk about that Crooks guy too. Oh shit, it's already 8:05 before we get on there, so I have to write that down about Crooks. But the RNC, this is something I thought of. You probably thought of it already. I'm sure you guys listening have too. But I didn't think of this till just today with this whole thing with Biden and how yesterday we were talking about if it made sense to do like the slow roll method to try to get Biden out, give him a convenient excuse like, oh no, I'm too sick, I can't run, and then drop it around the time of the convention, or if it would make more sense to cut it off right now, get the ball rolling, get the new candidate out there, show them to the American people. But then I thought when you were talking about how Trump came out to It's a Man's World and everything as kind of a shot at maybe Kamala Harris, and all the speeches about Biden, maybe they're just waiting until after the RNC convention, because that's going to be 3 straight days of press where they can shit on whoever they nominate, but they spent all 3 days shitting on Biden. And do you think that it had anything to do? I thought of this like just a little bit ago.
I don't know. I hadn't considered it. Yeah, it is. I think I'm sorry. I got distracted by a tweet I saw that said that the Hill is reporting that Biden expected to make a major announcement about his future soon after the RNC concludes. Look
at that.
Yeah. So I don't know. First of all, I'm like, well, if you're gonna make the announcement, you should make it during Trump's speech. That
would be funny.
That's what he should do. But anyway, fuck, what was your question? I'm sorry. I got completely. I saw that tweet and I was like, oh, what the fuck?
Well, it's like, were they waiting until after the convention to make the announcement?
Yeah.
So the Republicans can't shit on the new nominee for 3 days. They take away that spotlight that they were guaranteed to have.
Yeah, no, I think that is part of it, where it's just like, first of all, I think that the decision was made yesterday. I think that yesterday
it's got to have been, right? It had to have been.
Whether Biden knows the decision was made or not yesterday, or whether he still thinks he's making it, is up for debate. But I think the decision was made yesterday, and I do think now it's just a matter of when and how they're going to do it. And you're right, like it is strategically beneficial to be like, hey, the RNC is going to have their entire convention not knowing who they're running against.
Yep.
And as I alluded to earlier in the show, like he came out to It's a Man's World. He's clearly, and I think there was a statement released by the Trump campaign today where they were talking about the vice presidential debates, and they literally said, we don't know who Kamala Harris's vice president's going to be, so we can't agree to any.
Oh shit! Did he say that?
Yeah, I saw it on Twitter. Everyone take a grain of salt because I didn't like confirm that it was real. But like it's pretty clear that like they don't know who they're running against, and they keep saying they is the big villain. I don't know if you've like caught on to this, but like JD Vance said they shot Donald Trump, and they keep saying they, and they're not really rallying against Biden because they don't think he's going to run at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And so they really have a lot of just wet powder. And yeah, it is strategically beneficial to have that be the case, and then the entire DNC can be about anointing. It's going to be Kamala. As much as
it has to be. It has to be. Yeah.
Really, I don't think that they have the stomach to like actually do a whole thing. And even if they did, I think Kamala wins anyway.
Yeah.
So
it's already tumultuous enough. I mean, like you got to make this as simple as possible, you know.
One last thing about the RNC. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, please.
We have to talk about the ears.
Whose ears?
Everyone's ears. Have you not seen this?
Ears.
At
the RNC?
Yeah. How they're all putting the like tape on their ears.
Oh, the bandage on the ears. Yes. Okay, I have seen that. Yeah.
Like it is the funniest.
It's so funny. It's so funny, man.
So why is it not? Oh, there we go. Okay. Like these are the funniest images. Like they look like clowns.
It's absurd. It's so absurd, man. I just
grown adults who refuse to wear masks.
I know, right?
It reminded me. Have you ever seen Tim Burton's Alice in Wonderland?
Yes. Yeah.
And it's like when all of the people in the Queen's Court were putting fake prosthetics on so like it wouldn't like insult the Queen. Like that's exactly what this looks like, TJ.
It
like,
is. It is.
This shit up.
That is so funny. I had forgotten about that because I only saw like one or two. I didn't know it was that widespread. I only saw a couple people do it. But it does confirm if there was any lasting suspicion that Trump planned this confirms it wasn't planned. Because if you were, like we said last show, it would have been something cool like an eye patch. And then they could have all had, fake eye patches they wore.
That would have been cool. It would have also
been
made
so
it
cool.
look like a supervillain getup.
Right. They're already halfway there, so why not? But yeah, so like, in fact, I'm actually surprised that I think Trump probably had to have been talked into that thing because it looks ridiculous. But he wants to milk the fact that he got injured during the assassination attempt. But I think. I don't know. I don't know if he like needs stitches would have probably been fine. I don't know if he needs a bandage or anything like that, but it does look absurd. It's not something that makes you look tough, like even if he had like hurt his wrist or something, like a bandage literally anywhere else, like a Nelly Band-Aid across your face or something, as anything would look cooler than that. And then having people mimic it, you're absolutely right.
I've been thinking about like just the American flag eye patch ever since you said it. Like I'm just like, God, that would have been
cool. Been so great. I wanted to real quick because I said this might be the last time that we'll get a chance to talk about the Trump shooter because the story is quickly fleeting. But this whole situation is so fucking strange. Like for some reason it gets weirder and weirder the more you look into it. Because yesterday we talked about how the story kind of evaporated. It's like this miasma just kind of disappeared. And because there's really no narrative to sink your teeth into. Like this guy didn't seem to have a strong like political ideology. He didn't have any type of manifesto. But I don't know if you saw this report that the FBI, I think they released like right after the show, or maybe during the show we were talking about it.
This report, that he was looking up Trump and Biden and
yeah. It's like
I think this confirms my theory that I had yesterday. I read this and I was like, yeah, this feeds right into the suicide by cop theory. Like, yeah, he just wanted to go out blazing, and Trump was closer.
He was like, so what's here? Crooks, the suspected gunman in the assassination attempt of Trump last Saturday, searched on his phone for the dates of former president's rally in Butler, Pennsylvania, and for dates of the Democratic National Convention in Chicago. That's like, did he plan on driving? I don't know. It doesn't matter. He's dead now. We can't ask. Sources familiar with the investigation told NBC News. Crook also searched on his phone for images of both the former president and the current president, sources said. The suspect's phone search history revealed no indication of his political views. That actually was the weirdest sentence to me. Because, like, if you cracked into my phone, like, it would take you no time at all to find out my political. Then again, I'm a really political person, but I have a hard time like envisioning someone who's like web search history is completely apolitical. I don't know how that could even exist. Like, you know what I'm saying here? I don't know.
At least someone who is going to do something like this that like is clearly like a political thing. You know, like there's definitely people out there who are just they don't give a flying fuck about anything, and that I believe. But someone who would go through the effort of an assassination attempt on a presidential candidate, it seems like they must have some political ideology that would be discernible through their search history, like on their phone somewhere. You know, it's kind of weird.
Well, I mean, what I like to say is that when people say they're not political, is it doesn't make sense because everything is political. I mean, like your interests, like even if you weren't trying to be political, like if you were really into guns, that may not mean that you're a hardcore Republican or whatever, but that's a pretty strong political leaning. I have a good idea, where you're going to fall on the spectrum here. And I could probably easily, like, if you ever talk, here it is. Like, you ever talk to someone and they say, man, brother, I don't know anything about politics. I don't follow it all. And then you ask them like 4 or 5 questions and you immediately peg where they are. Like, okay, now I know where you are politically. You may not know, but that's what I'm saying. That just like, if you could look at someone's search history, you can see where their interests lie. I mean, I just can't imagine someone having no political interest whatsoever. That's weird to me.
But like, it could just be like because like he searched Trump and Biden. Like
he's had conflicting ones.
He's into guns, but also he's gay. Like, like it's just like, it's probably like balanced out. And I don't know. Is maybe the conclusion of just like, there's not enough evidence in either direction. Not so much that there's 0 things that are political in his phone, but it's inconclusive which side this dude ended up on because he's clearly a nutcase.
I like that idea of every single belief he has equally balancing out. Like he spent 5 hours on the UAW website researching Sean Fain and signing up for courses, but wrote in support of right to work laws in a state too. It's just completely contradictory in every single part of his life. Like, what is with this fucking weirdo? What's wrong with this guy? Because it'd have to be something like that. Like it would have to be something that's like completely diametrically opposed in everything he says. The Secret Service will be in charge of security, blah, blah, blah. I think there's something else here too that I saw. I can't remember, but it's just like, I just have this deeply unsatisfied feeling about this, because it's just such a fucking mystery about what this guy wanted and going through the troubleshooting. Now, look, I dismiss the conspiracy claims, and we went over this yesterday about how like in order to get everything to fall in place for it to be a conspiracy, it's kind of wild. But I do have unanswered questions, which bugs me too. The main gets me, John. The main one that gets me is the fact that they saw the shooter like 20 minutes before he shot at Trump. Like they saw him. Like you remember seeing the video. The counter snipers were ready. The counter snipers killed him right after he took the shot. So the Secret Service or the cops or whoever saw them saw the shooter 150 yards away. I assume they scoped him out and saw that he had a rifle, and they still let Trump on the stage. That's the part that's weirded me out. If they saw him, which they said they did, and there was even a 5% chance this guy could take a shot at the president, why is he on the stage? That's That's gross. And
obviously it's because one of them like had a son that went to high school with him and was in their sharpshooting club and knew that he wasn't a threat.
He's fine. Don't worry. Tell Don it's fine. Tell Don to get on the stage. It's perfectly cool.
This guy couldn't hit the broadside of a barn.
Mr. President, you have never been more safe than you are right
unless
now.
he's trying to hit someone else.
Yeah,
Donald is safe.
I did hear one decent theory on it that honestly it's my favorite conspiracy theory on this, that the Secret Service hates Trump. He probably treats them like shit. He's probably a horrible boss. Like, oh man, we don't want this guy for 4 more years. Go ahead and let the kid take a shot. Give him the old college try. I love that theory. That's pretty good.
I've had this thought before that like there actually have been many assassination attempts, because we're saying it's weird that there haven't been more. It's odd that there haven't been more, and the real reason for that probably is that most people don't have the balls to assassinate a president. It's only crazy people who assassinate people, or like you didn't actually hear about it because it was a competent person. But like I have you ever heard that like it goes around like once every other month on Twitter where it's like, hey, I had this great idea for a Superman movie where it's about Clark Kent and FBI investigate, like the CIA is trying to kill this journalist Clark Kent, but they can't for some reason. And like I would love this, like the Secret Service has been like trying to kill Trump for years, but he just like fucking Inspector Clouseau's himself out of every situation. Like that would be really funny. But no, it is weird. And I'm surprised that like the Secret Service, like the head of the Secret Service hasn't resigned. It feels like something that you just seppuku yourself, like you fall on your sword, you're done, like you've dishonored, just like maintain the faith in the establishment. I'm surprised that hasn't happened. Like that is kind of weird.
Maybe it has. I haven't heard. I imagine they do an investigation first. Like they'll probably it's the government can't scratch their ass without a giant hullabaloo about it. So I have heard about that because a lot of people are asking when's the investigation? Okay, this happened like 5 days ago. The investigation is going to take weeks. I guarantee you. Like, it's not going to happen. And people are like, well, how do we know Trump was injured? I still people say, well, maybe he had like a razor blade in his hand and he's like a magician on the side and nobody saw it or some shit, and where's the medical reports? And look, all that shit's going to be sealed away. And plus Trump, he probably didn't get hit with a bullet. Otherwise his ear would be a lot worse shape. It was probably glass and everything. And if I were Trump, I wouldn't let that medical information. No, I got shot. That's what I would say. I got shot. Like, yeah, exactly. So Trump probably doesn't want that information.
You know what, TJ, he fucked it. He should have came out to many men. That's what he should have walked out to. Many men would have been way better.
It would have been great.
In fact, I hope he's not watching right now because that would be badass. If he came
Stop giving the opposition ideas, John. Stop giving my shit. Oh, all right. So we only have 10 minutes left here. Let's. You want to talk about Joe Biden leaning into left-wing causes, and we don't have a lot of time, but we can try to hop on that. What were your thoughts on this?
Yeah, so Joe Biden has come out with a kind of, it seems like he's just throwing the kitchen sink out there. Right?
Why not, right? Why not?
And it's like, he's come out with, he wants to support, or he hasn't officially said this, but it's been reported that he is planning to come out with an endorsement of a Supreme Court official legally enforced code of ethics and term limits for the Supreme Court. It has come out that he wants to cap rent, and this is official. Like he said, I want to cap rent increases at 5%, which I actually really like how he did that policy, and we don't need to get into the policy too much now. But there was another like progressive style policy that he came out with. I forget what the third one was off the top of my head right now, but he is just throwing these things at the wall. Tellingly still not legalizing weed for some reason, but like he's throwing these progressive policies at the wall in an effort to try and maintain his candidacy and hoping that it'll attract people. And it really pisses me the fuck off, TJ. Like it really, really pisses me the fuck off because every year presidents go, hey, I'm going to do this. Like when he's like, I'm going to codify Roe. Like we know you're not going to fucking do that, but it makes sense that you say that because Democrats say that every fucking year. But the fact that he's throwing out these progressive policies in a last ditch effort means that on some level, he recognizes that they're electorally favorable. And yet he didn't want to implement them, even though he thought the whole time it would help him electorally. Like, to me, this means he's actively against these things and feels like his hand is forced, which just pisses, and he's just pretending like this is a good thing now. It pisses me the fuck off. Like, as much as it's ostensibly good that he's doing this, it really just feels like he's kicking me in the balls.
Yeah. So I don't know. I pulled it up here, but you were talking about his the 5% rent thing.
Mm-hmm.
Did you see the speech where he was trying to say it, but he said that we're capping rent at $55? Did you see that where he misspoke on that?
That's so
Yeah,
funny.
he said
$55. You know what, Joe? You got my vote.
You got it. Yeah. No, but it's true. It's what got me about this stuff is well, mainly the Supreme Court one and everything. It's like, okay, you can say that, but it doesn't matter. I mean, you know that change the Constitution is what you're saying. Like, we need to change like what Article 3 or whatever is the Constitution that talks about the Supreme Court to change the fact that they're lifetime appointments. We know you're not going to do that. Who's going to buy that? And like the rent thing and stuff is good. What I thought would have been a good thing for him is that I saw he has a meeting with Benjamin Netanyahu, or he was supposed to have one like this weekend.
I saw today that he still plans on doing it. I don't know if that's changed, but I saw that a couple hours ago.
I gotta tell you, so you're saying that if he does like these things, you could vote for him. If he gives Netanyahu COVID, I might say, hey, look, man, you might you want to take him down with you? All right, we can go for that. It's just
let me TJ. The good thing about this moment in history is that the memes are fucking fantastic, and I saw two great memes about this. One was it's the Woody holding back Sora, and he's like, hold up, let him cook, and it was the report. It's just like, yo, let Biden stay president for a couple more days. Let's see how this one plays out. And then the other one I saw, it was the Tyrell from Game of Thrones, not the young one, the old one. Who poisoned everyone, and it was like, this is Nancy Pelosi licking doorknobs all around the White House with coke. But I fucking it's great. It's great. All of it is great. I'm relieved, TJ. I feel like I can laugh again. Biden is going to step down. I feel like I'm free again, TJ. I came home last night and I was like, I hugged my fiance. I was like, it's over. He's done. I can breathe again.
I wonder about situations like this with Joe Biden because I don't know. Then again, Joe Biden, once again, saying he's old doesn't seem to cut it because it's not so much that he's old; it's that his brain's falling apart. Like, he's old and his brain's not working. But if I were in Biden's situation, when he essentially has nothing to lose, like, just go for it, man. Just like throw anything against the wall and see if it sticks. That you couldn't possibly be in a worse situation than you are now. And it reminds me, do you remember when what was his name? Doug something. He ran for Senate in Alabama against Roy. I can't remember his first name. I can't remember that guy. The guy who was a pedophile in Alabama. Yeah. It was Roy something. And Doug Jones, I think, was the Democrat who ran against him. I want to say Roy Williams. That's a basketball coach. That is, I don't want to besmirch the North Carolina Tar Heels. Let's say that their coach is a pedophile. Roy Moore. That was his name. Roy Moore.
Yep.
And so Roy Moore had a woman came forward and said that, when Roy Moore was like in his 30s or 40s, he was dating her when she was 14 or some shit. And he was the sitting senator in Alabama and running for re-election. And so the Democrat, Doug Jones, ran against him saying, hey, how about you guys not elect the pedophile? This is a deep red state. Mm-hmm. And so Doug Jones, the Democrat, won by like 0.5%, I might add. Like the guy was like an open pedophile, and Republicans still voted for him. That's how like monstrous these folks are. Now, Doug Jones knew he was going to be a one-term senator. Like, odds are 6 years later, he's still going to be in a red state. Like, Alabama's not going to turn blue like in the next half decade. And he's going to be running against a Republican who's going to kick his ass. Just absolutely going to be slaughtered. And I remember
Tommy Tuberville. He lost to Tommy Tuberville.
Oh, see that? Yeah, that's how red. Exactly. Oh my God, it was Tommy Tuberville. Holy shit, I didn't think about that. But there was no way he was going to have anything more than one term in the Senate. And I remember talking to my friends about this. Is like, he should be the most radical fucking communist in the country. Like, you got you got 6 years in the Senate. Do as much as you possibly can. But nope, he was a pretty standard Democrat the entire time. I was like, man, why not? And that's how I feel about Biden right now. Just do whatever you want, man. Just try to do something to make your legacy salvageable in some sense, that you could actually do good for, you know, the young people who you shit on this entire time. It's just really depressing. I don't know.
I mentioned yesterday how I really like Nate Silver, and he had a really good column where he said that he was at the World Series of Poker, and he was like, if the however many members of the PNC, if they were switched with the poker players here at the World Series of Poker, Biden would already be gone, because World Series of Poker players know risk management. They know to not be risk averse. They know when to take risks, and this is the time when you need to take risks. However, politicians are in a way bred to be incredibly risk averse. The way you win in poker is by taking risks. The way you win in politics is by taking as few risks as humanly possible. So I think that we often think this as people sitting on the sidelines. Hey, if I'm in the last term of my presidency, if I know that I'm going out and I'm not going to run for re-election again, why not just go balls to the wall as progressive, or whatever your actual beliefs are, pursue them? And I think it's just, in order to get to that point as a politician, unless you're a Marjorie Taylor Greene who got there by being firecracker, your brain's cooked. Your brain is set to this risk averse nature where, like, you don't even think that way anymore. You're just so used to doing the job the way you've never always done it. It doesn't even get you there. And I think that's really what it is. And he's from Alabama. How progressive?
That's true. Yeah, I guess.
I know there's progressives in Alabama. I know they exist, but come on.
Yeah, he was probably being true to his nature. But I think they need to take a line out of Jesus's book. I think it was Jesus who said about this very thing: you got to know when to hold them, you got to know when to fold them. You gotta know when to walk away and when to run. Like you gotta, manage your risk on that. So I don't know, but all right. Guess we can wrap this bad boy up here. Any parting? We didn't go through the comments, folks. I'm sorry. We were having such a good time.
We apologize. We had some good comments I kept seeing in there. Join us on Wednesday, Kyle and Mark. I know you got a lot in there. Our Thursday show is a little less comment focused. Join us on Wednesday. We'll address all your comments live at 6:30 Eastern time.
So Wednesday, John, I think we should talk about the boys finale. There's a lot to discuss.
I'll catch up by then. Yeah.
Do you have any predictions? Since you haven't seen, I saw last episode, right? Did you any predictions?
I've not seen the most recent episode. So I again, the last one I saw, because I'm a little bit behind. I've been like hooked on Castlevania recently. So I've been behind on getting the boys. But the last one I saw was when essentially Butcher realized that the CIA guy is fake. That's the one that I was on. I think that Butcher's got to die somehow or become a super person. I do think that it's possible that your prediction might be right, that Butcher kind of takes the place of Homelander. But I don't know, because I don't know who your hero is. I don't know who you care about. I don't think any of the boys actually have much protagonistic force behind them besides Butcher. I really don't know. I'm interested to see where they take this, because I don't know. Homelander should just inevitably like push the plot forward every single season, and we got to get there eventually. Like, does it end in him going for the takeover? I don't know. Again, I also haven't seen the second to last episode, so my prediction might not be the best thing to talk about.
All right, that was my poker face. I didn't make a single face.
I noticed.
So yeah, that was. I didn't know there was more Castlevania. It's been a while since I watched that.
Oh no, I have not. I'm on my first watch.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. It's great. It's great. Yeah. Castlevania is fantastic. But all right, folks. Thanks for joining us. Wolfie says goodbye, and we'll catch you guys next time.
Bye, guys.
All right. Good.